What's up? It's Way Up with Angela Yee, and I'm so excited today to have Beatrice Dixon here with me, author now of The Soul Instinct, but you also know her as the co-founder, CEO, and Chief Innovation Officer for The Honey Pot Company, a company that we all know and love. How are you feeling today?
I'm good, sister. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for asking. Now, your memoir, would you call this a memoir?
I would. I think
Okay.
I would call it a memoir. Yeah.
So this is out right now. And when I tell you this is a movie.
You think so?
I know so.
I appreciate that.
Don't
I really
you,
do.
Did you feel that too when you...
You know what? I'm just going with the flow.
Okay. That's very B.
I'm just exactly. I'm just flowing through it. If that happens one day, I'm grateful. I'm also grateful to have been able to write this book. Yeah, I mean, yes, Lord, best-selling book. I got to get on that bestseller list. Like, that's my goal right now.
Okay, so let's discuss, because we've met a few times, and there are things about you that I never knew.
Yeah.
And so early on in the book, you just discussed your childhood, and every year on your birthday, your mom talks about how you came into this world.
Yeah.
And it was quite a traumatic experience for her.
Yeah, it was.
So can you just break that down? Because sometimes I think you didn't appreciate this story until later in life.
Yeah, because I was a kid, you know, but now that I'm an adult, I understand. So when I was born, when I was conceived, really, my mother was in a really bad car accident. And basically what happened is the steering wheel dropped into her and broke ribs. And when it dropped in, it pushed me from where I was up, almost up under her rib cage. And so she went to the doctor multiple times, and she kept saying, I'm feeling a little something,
right.
You know? And my grandmother was like, well, maybe it's gas. You know, it could be. She was telling her all kinds of things. And then she was like, well, let's just go to the doctor. She went twice. I don't think they had done a blood test those 2 times. I think they had just done a urine test. And it said that she wasn't pregnant. And so the last time she gets it's almost like a gut punch, you know, it's undeniable. This is not gas. This is not whatever everybody else is saying it is. This is something. And so turns out she's pregnant, and they have to do emergency surgery.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And and so even for you coming out, it took a while for you to even be able to, you know, they had to reconstruct your face and everything.
Yeah, because when I was born, I was very premature. I was born at close to 7 months. And I was born without basically my brains, and my brains were exposed, and I didn't have a nose. That hadn't, because of the way that I developed where I was initially, I was underdeveloped to begin with.
I've never heard of a story like this.
It's crazy.
And I know the doctor also was like, this is the first time I've seen something like this.
Yeah, it was. They had to fly somebody in from Germany to construct my face.
So even your existence alone is kind of something that is otherworldly in a way. And you've had this ability to kind of tap into, I don't even know, what would you call it? This ability that you have to feel things and see things.
I guess it would, if we put a name, it would probably be an intuitive ability, or, you know, there's a bit of a medium ability, but that's actually something that just runs in my family, right? Because I'm Black and Native American. Most of the women in my family have these types of gifts, you know, and so later in life, you know, those gifts really came in strong. But, you know, at that point in my life, I was just fighting for my life, you know.
Is that something that for you, has it always been just acceptance? It's been like this, or is it something that ever scared you?
I think when I was a kid, it might have scared me a little bit because I would know things, you know, I would go to somebody's house and I'd feel somebody sick, or I'd feel a spirit, or I'd feel an accident was going to happen. It was when I felt things, it wasn't always good things.
Right.
You know?
That's what's really hard.
And that's scary as a kid. You know what I'm saying? And so I think, you know, I think so as a kid, there were moments where it was a little scary or terrifying, but then at the same time, my mother never made it weird.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because my Aunt Jenny, my Aunt Beezy, who I'm named after, like countless women in my family had these gifts. So, and I always knew that they had these gifts because my mother always talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so it wasn't like I wasn't comfortable with having it.
And she believed you too, because
She
sometimes
did.
if you had a mother that was like, girl, stop.
Yeah.
That's a whole different thing than having somebody like, oh, that's your grandmother you was talking to.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's, you know.
It was nothing. Yeah. And my mother has these gifts. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so in that respect, it wasn't abnormal.
I want to talk to you about your mom, because it feels like she really laid down the groundwork for you to have the confidence that you have today, and having a mother that you could go to and talk to her about anything.
Yeah.
That's a rarity, I feel like, because sometimes growing up, talking to your mom, there's certain things that you want to, and of course there were times that you didn't want to tell her things, but she had that intuitive perception to be able to know anyway. But she also was not judgmental of you in any way. And that, you know how special that is?
Yeah, it is. It's a rarity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my mother was also very strict with me when I was a kid, though. You know, like she was like, you can't stay at people's houses. Like, you know, you can't go out with your friends. Matter of fact, one of the times in the book was when I was 12, I had a stroke. I had fought with them to go out with my friends that day. And for whatever reason, my mom was like, no, you cannot go, you know? And, and so, I mean, now I can look back on it and say, thank God, because had I went, who knows what would have happened, right? Because nobody would have known what to do. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like, she is a gift, you know. My mom never shied away from telling me about her life. My mother had a very hard life. She did what she had to do to survive, you know. And she made me a hustler. You know what I'm saying?
And
like,
you hustled.
I hustled my butt off.
Yeah.
But like, she made me that. Like, she never just gave me things, you know? Like if I wanted something, she would be like, okay, that's fine. But like, and it wasn't always that it was about money.
Mm-hmm.
But when it was about money, she would be like, okay, you know, you go get a job. Like, I remember with my first car, you go get a job, right? You're going to put up half, I'm going to put up half.
Mm-hmm.
Then once I had that job, that was constantly our conversation.
Right.
You know, she didn't necessarily know all about credit and about, you know, she knew about finances by way of like paying your bills. And, you know, her thing was always, if you want to go do something, you got to have your bills paid first. If you want to go on a date, you can't be out here with no money. If you don't got no money, you don't got no business going nowhere.
Yeah,
you know,
I agree with that.
Me too. And so she made me very responsible. She made me very, you know, she just made me really focus, and she always tried to focus me on the things that were the right things. You know, sometimes as a kid, you can be all over the place and not worrying about the things you need to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm grateful about with my mom is that she constantly had me focused on what the right thing was, you know?
And did. And so it was interesting because then when you moved away from your mom and moved to Atlanta.
Man, I went for it.
So, first of all, things we didn't know about you.
Yeah, man.
You actually, first, you worked cleaning houses.
Yeah.
And that is, I always feel like that is such always needed no matter what in any day, era, age. Like, I know people who have their own cleaning businesses, and that can be something that's really lucrative if you're not charging $35 to clean a house.
Well, that was it. So look, so that was interesting, right? So that was a tactic. That was a tactic, sister.
Time, yeah.
That was for the first cleaning, right? Basically, we gave the first cleaning away for free, and you would pay for gas, but we would clean that house as if the person was paying us $1,000.
Now you hooked.
And then they hooked, and
Yeah.
that kept us with keeping our business, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a tactic, but. The cleaning business is hard.
Yeah.
You know, unless you have a crew and you know, and you're cleaning commercial and you're cleaning houses, and you know what I mean? And you have the ability to duplicate yourself. The way that we did it, it wasn't necessarily the right way, because if the only way we were making money is if we were cleaning somebody's house.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Even though we made okay money, but not enough money to where we weren't homeless.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Where you couldn't get evicted.
To where we couldn't get evicted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like it just, I eventually realized I was hustling backwards.
But then you also were stripping, which is something I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say you put everything in this book, I love the transparency that you had there. Did you tell your mom that
No.
ever at that time?
Absolutely not.
Okay, I was wondering, because it felt like y'all had such an open relationship. I wonder if her mother knew this was going on.
She did know something was going on, though.
Mm-hmm.
She did know something was going on, because she would ask me, "What are you doing? What are you up to?" Because when I first moved to Atlanta, I was outside.
Yeah.
Outside.
And going to the strip club in Atlanta is different than in some places.
Yes.
It's cultural. It's like...
It is. It's just like, it's normal, right? Especially at that time, right? Because, I mean, you know, Meech and them had just went away. So it was still...
It was money to be made.
It was money to be made. But, it still wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I knew that I wasn't... First of all, I don't have the ability... I couldn't have worked in like a Magic City type of strip club.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
They were
like,
doing the tricks, flipping on the poles.
Those women are goddesses.
Shout out to Gigi McGuire,
Seriously, those women are goddesses, and the things that they can do with their bodies are insane.
You're like, I just want to walk around and have conversations with people.
Exactly. And
you're like a therapist in this.
You are like a therapist, but the only thing about that is that it was harder to make money in a smaller place.
Right.
You know? Especially because everybody was here for Onyx and Magic City type of strip clubs back in those times, you know.
If you didn't have good wings and good lamb chops.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
How were your relationships with the other women that worked in the club? Because I know that's also a thing. We're watching.
I didn't have any.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any. Everybody was for themselves.
Okay.
You know?
Competitive.
It was competitive, but it was also just like everybody was just doing what they had to do. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those girls were vets there. Okay. Right. And they already had their regulars that would come in. You know what I mean? And so because I was new, I really was only there for like a solid month, baby. I didn't do it for long.
Read the book and you'll see why she got out of it. Read the book, because I'm not going to tell everything. Yeah. I want to make sure that people dive, because the transparency that you have in this book is amazing. And I think it's important too to even think about how Honey Pot was conceptualized is for you to tell your own story.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you talk about BV, bacterial vaginosis, and the struggles that you have with that, because that's a pH balance thing. There's women that struggle with that every single month. They get their period and they get BV, and then they take antibiotics, and then it comes right back again the next month. And so for you were having issues. You said it was so bad you got into a car one day and you stunk up the whole car, and everybody knew it was you.
The whole car, child. And it wasn't just that. Like I was the person that stunk up the public bathroom. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It was rough. It was bad.
And I have to imagine during that time that also makes it impossible to have sex.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I was young, you know? So I wanted to be using my vagina. I didn't want to be having this issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, but it, honestly, sister, though, if it wasn't that bad, I probably wouldn't be here right now having this conversation.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That is part of the origin story of Honey Pot.
Yeah.
And why it even happened.
And to me, all of these stories are a part of the origin story. Like, I think that it's very important that I have stripped for money, that I have, I've done a lot of things with my vagina. Yeah. You understand? I've used my vagina to make money. I've done a lot of things to make money. And I think when you think of just all the things that can go wrong in a human with vagina's life, right? Definitely some of the moves that I was making put me in a position for my pH to be off. Right. You know what I'm saying? That don't mean that everybody that's dancing is going to have the same situation, or a person who might be an escort or whatever they may be fine. You understand what I'm saying? But like, for me, I think that it's notable that I've done a lot of these things in my life. They may have been short-lived, right? But like, I don't know. There's a semblance there to me as it relates to everything that prepared me for this business, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you think of the trauma that a human with a vagina can go through as a person, and the trauma that happens just with our vaginas, right? Period. Right.
That's one of them too. Period.
Yeah, exactly. But like, you know, there's just something, there's a through line, you know, that all of these things kind of prepared me.
And people are so scared to talk about vaginas.
Yeah, they are.
And I know even for you, going into meetings and people are like, I don't even want to say the word, or it is a conversation. And even you worked at Whole Foods and you were able to build up some clientele there. Mm-hmm. But even approaching people like, hey, you know, I have a product and it's for your vagina, and people feel like, well, I don't need it. The vagina cleans itself, or
yeah, that would happen sometimes. Mm-hmm. But I became like the vagina lady in Whole Body.
We all need a vagina lady.
It's hilarious. I became the vagina lady in Whole Body because that's where I worked in Whole Foods, and so I was constantly helping people. Like my team would send people to me because they knew, because I was super cool. You know, it was me, Nina, Asada, Indra. Like we were a whole crew. You know, and everybody knew what I was dealing with.
Right.
You know, and especially once Honey Pot was born. Mm-hmm. Right. Like I would bring jars of like trying to figure out how to make rose water and all kinds of things that looked crazy. But I just remember that time. It was really beautiful because I was just tinkering with things, trying to learn, how should I make this? How should I mix that? You know? And so I would literally just follow people out. I would help them with all their stuff. I would walk them to the cash register. And then I'd say, hey, I'm going to walk you to your car. Because I didn't want to be reckless.
Right. You can't be in the store like
offering my product. Yeah. Nah, man. Like, that's crazy.
Out the trunk.
Yeah. That was crazy. And so I would walk them out and be like, hey, I have this product. You know, I know you're dealing with some stuff. Like, I'll give it to you for free. Mm-hmm. I just need you to tell me if it works for you. Is it too strong? Is it too weak? You know, can you use it on your kids? Like, all kinds of things were happening. Like you should have seen the things that people would say and the things that people would be so happy about, because most of them were getting the same result that I was getting. And most of them were dealing with reoccurring bacterial vaginosis or odor or yeast, you know. So it was crazy. And
there was definitely a void on the shelves.
Oh yeah,
there was no product like yours that existed.
No.
In stores. So, you know, I see part of your strategy is I'll give you the first one for free.
Yep.
And then knowing that people are going to come back, because the actual product is always the best marketing for a brand when you have a great product.
Yeah. That's how we built. Mm-hmm. That's how we built our business. That's why once we got into retail, we already had an organic following, right? Anytime we could, me, Sai, Linda, Antoinette, Dom, Suad, like all these people, anytime there was anywhere where we could go to a festival or a convention or a trade show or a hair show, anytime we could do any of that, we were there. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember one year we were outside in the middle of July in New Orleans at Essence Fest.
I know it was hot.
Sister, it was crazy. But like we were down for it, right? Like whatever it took, we were there. If it was going to be 20 people there, right, I would go. If it was going to be thousands of people there, we would bring a crew, you know? And it was, but I truly, because we kind of went at it kind of the old school guerrilla marketing way. Yeah, because now it's
more like you go online and you try to go viral.
Yeah.
It's different than...
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
That whole interaction.
It's a different time.
What do you... I wonder how things would have been different back then if we would have had access like we do now to... you know, social media and online. And
I think because social media was just starting to brew back then. Mm-hmm. You know, it was around, but it wasn't the way that it is now, you know? I don't know. I think it's harder to build a business today.
You think so?
To be honest.
Yeah, it can get oversaturated because of the access that people have.
And it costs a lot more money, you know? That doesn't mean you can't go about it the old school ways.
Right.
Right? But it's, you know, it's kind of like seasonal, right? Because you're not going to really hear of a lot of trade shows that are happening right now, right? For instance.
Yeah.
But come spring, come summer, that's when things start to pop off. But you can still do it that way. You know, I still believe in the old school way of creating an organic following. You can do that on social media too. You can find influencers. You can do all that. But like, you know, the way we did it, it really gave us the ability to like talk to our customers, answer their questions, look them in the eye. To me, those things matter.
Yeah, because sometimes I want to buy things, but I have so many questions.
Exactly.
And then I don't always trust when you Google it, like if these are people paid to do a review, or, you know, how do you like to talk to a human? I think there's so much value in that we don't get as much.
It's power in it, you know?
You know, the Super Bowl just passed, and thinking back to Honey Pot's history and how you first started Whole Foods, one store, but then moving into Target.
Yeah.
And that was huge for Honey Pot. And one thing that happened was there was a Super Bowl ad, and that was the first backlash that the company really got, which was so interesting to me because I feel like that would happen today too.
It could happen today. It could happen today, but honestly, Angela,
just the way people are acting, they're mad that Bad Bunny performed at the halftime show. They're acting like he's not a U.S. citizen, it's wild. But can we address, and I want to talk about that in the frame of where we are, you know, in 2026.
Yeah.
But talk about the backlash you got from that ad that ran during the Super Bowl.
So, okay. So first of all, when we were taping, right, there was a period where, like, one of the moments where we were taping, I sat down with a producer, and he asked me like 100 questions. It felt like 100 questions. It felt like we were sitting there for like 2 hours, you know? And he would just ask me a question. One of the questions he asked was, why was it important for us to be successful, right? Really, actually, he was more specific. Why was it important for me to be successful, right? And I told him the reason why I felt like it was so important for us to be successful was because it would create a pathway for the next human of color, the next Black woman, right, to be able, it creates the pathway for their success, right? Reason for that is because we know what it's even more abysmal now than it was then, right? What access to capital looks like. And access to capital happens when there are examples, right? When there are comps, when there are people that have done what you're doing that you can compare yourself to, right? Part of why there is such gaps in when it comes to funding, there's a lot of reasons why today, which I don't want to go into the politics of it because I don't need nobody tracking me down from that from the other side of the tracks. But you know, but there's not a lot of us that have been able to be successful. Right.
Agreed.
It's a small amount of us, right? And so when you go out to raise money, just off before you've even walked into the door, before you even done your pitch, you're already a risk. Right. You're already a risk. So then how that relates to today, right? What happened during COVID when everything was all Black everything, right? We all knew that there was going to be an expiration to that.
Yes, we did.
Right?
They were like, get it while you can, because...
Get it while you can. But the way that was set up, right? It was beautiful and it was hard because it made it where almost anybody could get funding. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually really dope. But then if we all got that access and a good amount of us didn't succeed,
which is statistically what it is across all genres of people. Yeah.
Amen. Right? Because that's how it's going to happen anyway. There's always going to be a lot of capital.
Everybody is not going to. People really rely on when you invest, there's going to be a couple of unicorns that do really well.
Boom. Yeah. Right? But now that can be looked at as an excuse. Well, you know, well, this happened during that period and only so many was able to be successful. We all know that that's just the way that it is. Right. Right. But like, it's even now more so than ever. Right. those of us who have the ability to have success need to take everything that we can from it, right? We need to relish it as much as we can. We need to give it all that we got as much as we can. We need to be as successful as we can with our valuations, with our numbers, with our profitability, with our margins, with all that stuff, because we need to be able to have this access so that we can build businesses.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a big responsibility for the next group of people coming up under us. So they can't point to you and say, well, Beatrice's business, did this, so we're not going to do that again because we tried it and it didn't work.
Exactly. And it's not just me, right? It's Melissa. It's right. Like name them, right? Name us, right? There's a small group of us, right? Which needs to be bigger.
Right.
Right. It needs to be bigger. And it can be bigger because Black women are actually starting businesses more than anybody. Right.
Mostly self-funded.
Mostly self-funded. and guess what? A lot of times can be super successful based on that self-funding. Right. And sometimes it can be hard to scale. You have the thing, you have the product, you have the customer, you have the things, but sometimes you just need the bread so that you can take it to the next level, so that you can buy more products, so that you can invest more into your marketing, so that even bigger than that, you can invest in your team, right?
Important.
And so
everyone gets paid before you.
Everybody gets paid. Everybody.
You might not never get paid.
Everybody and everything.
For years.
Everything has to get paid too.
And
right?
when it comes to getting investment, the right timing is also important too.
It is.
You don't want to do it too early.
You don't, because you need to struggle a little bit so you can understand how to build your business, right?
Right.
And so, sorry, I didn't mean to digress, but I couldn't say.
Because I want to say this is a memoir, but it's also some business and some lessons in business too.
Yeah.
That's in this book based off of what you went through.
Exactly. And so all that happened. I had to say all that in order to set it up. And so basically some people put together a trust, what was it called? Trust Pilot or not Trust Pilot.
Yeah, I think it is Trust Pilot.
Yeah, it was like
they were upset and they were leaving these reviews.
They left 1-star reviews and, people were saying crazy things. Most of those people had probably never even used Honey Pot, right?
And a lot of white women that felt like, oh, this is racist because she wants little Black girls to do what she's doing. So you don't want white women to use your product? You don't want little white girls to use your product?
I want everybody to use our products because we make products for humans with vaginas, right? And that doesn't have a color. But I do understand the economics of where we are. I do understand the social impacts of where we are. I do understand the politics of where we are, even more today than ever, right? And so if you look at the numbers can speak for themselves. And these are the reasons why people like me, because he asked me. He didn't ask, you understand?
Right.
And he asked me about why my success was important. He didn't ask me about my business, my products, and who I wanted to use those products. That wasn't what he asked. The question was, why did I need to be successful?
Right.
And I gave him my answer. And I would give that answer today, yesterday, 10 years from now. That would be my answer because it's true.
Yeah.
Right?
You think back then it was harder because it was so early, like it was a lot earlier for you too? Because now I feel like we're solid. I mean, it was solid, but now it's even more solid. It's been.
Oh yeah, we've been able. You mean like the business?
Yeah, because I think back then it was also like your first major commercial.
Yeah, man.
And it was your first Backlash experience.
It was. But honestly, it made us.
Yeah.
So I'm actually
that's
grateful.
When your team rallied behind you. Like we were like, no, you.
Yes.
And,
Yes. And by team, she's saying our customers, everybody. Even those people, I am so grateful to those people that said those terrible things. I'm also extremely even more grateful to the humans that supported us through that. I'm grateful for the team that was with us through that, like at Honey Pot, because we really helped band it together. And, the scale that we hit that year was insane.
So all that extra attention.
It did it. Yeah.
Is also part of what took it to the next level. I think sometimes also things like that make you stronger and it makes you also a lot more determined.
It does.
Because you can use that energy to bring back into the brand to be like, okay, now we gotta do and we gotta show this and we gotta hit these goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's always been the way we've thought about everything, to be honest. You know, the way when Cy was CFO, he was very focused on profit. In a time where being profitable actually was not popular, right? There was a lot of brands that were selling for like selling at $1 billion valuations, right? And they didn't have any profit, right? And so this was a time when the top line wasn't as important, right? But we had to condition ourselves to be that way because we didn't have a lot of money. Everything we had to make it work, you know? And it's crazy because we still operate our business like that today. Obviously, our marketing budgets are much bigger, our margin profile is better, right? Like our profitability is strong, you know, like all of those things. But I truly believe that we've been able to maintain that because of how we came up, because of how we got our start. You know,
even getting your start, I want to also stress the importance of, you just mentioned Cy, but your CFO.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes people also don't have their finances together when they're starting a business. And that's really important to the foundation of a business too.
It is. It's everything.
Yeah. And so I think for you getting started and having somebody like that to partner with, that was something that also was like a gift.
It was a gift
to have.
It was a gift from the gods, man. It was a gift from the ancestors. It was a gift. The whole thing was a gift, you know, honestly. Was, is, will be, you know. I don't shy away from talking about how the ancestors gift us and bless us every day. I never shy away from that because it's the truth, you know? And I know for some people that might make them uncomfortable because they may not necessarily understand that, or it may turn them away from what we do. I've heard that before. But it would be disrespectful. It would be a lack in gratitude, right, to not speak to what is real, and that is what is real.
Yeah,
you know, we are truly blessed with all the things that we've been able to accomplish, and the success that we've been able to have. You know, it doesn't happen every day, and I am aware of that.
Right,
and so I am grateful for where we are and for where we're going, and I know that that is because this business has a spirit, it has a soul. It really connects to people. It really, you know what I'm saying?
It does.
It's not just a company that's making vaginal wellness products. Like we're actually doing something. I believe we're doing something for humanity here. You know,
even in your personal life, that played you knowing that you're protected and also blessed. That led you to get out of your marriage. And I think sometimes we have these signs and these intuitions and we know what we need to do, but we can tend to stay and try to convince ourselves otherwise.
Yeah. Because you don't want to hurt somebody, you know? Yeah, it's hard. Finish it. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Listen, this is about...
Yeah, but no, I mean, you one, you don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want to hurt anyone. Two, I won't say anything bad for him because I respect him, right? I don't think that we were right for each other.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I was always afraid to say that because of who he was and all the things he had done for me. And you understand what I'm saying? And so while there was love there and, and there was a lot of theirs there, but I would never really talk about that in public, even the way I've talked about it in the book. I wanted to make sure that there was a level of respect and appreciation and gratitude for what we had when we had it, but I think that it's important that if you aren't happy in something, it's very important that you choose yourself.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in a time in my life where I was choosing myself. I was choosing everybody else, right? I was in this particular situation, I was choosing him. I was putting him above me.
Right.
Right. His feelings, his needs, his everything above me.
And
right?
also running a business.
And also running a business.
That everything was before you there too.
Everything was before me there. I was working, you know, I mean, I didn't stop working another full-time job until we were like 6-7 months into Target, right?
And people have to understand that too. The grind don't stop. They think you got in Target, you good, you rich, you got it.
Nah, that's not how that works.
You like, I still have my full-time job.
Yeah.
And you was running on fumes.
Yeah, exactly. I was running on fumes. I was depressed. I was seriously overweight. I think I was having some pH imbalances even then because I was so stressed out. My hormones were all over the place. My thyroid was acting up. Like I just wasn't in a good place, you know? I was probably like 60, 70 pounds overweight. Like it was a lot, you know? I was afraid to go to the doctor because I didn't know what the doctor was going to tell me. I just was living in darkness. You know,
right?
Me and Cy were trying to raise money desperately. That's also like,
oh, that's a stressful time when you're pitching yourself. You're passionate, you know your stuff, but then, or when somebody tells you yes, but then they change their mind, or you're trying to do those follow-up calls, they're ignoring your calls.
It's crazy. It is crazy, right? So it just was a really hard time in my life, and I needed something to like I needed to pick something,
right?
Because if I didn't stop doing what I was doing, right, I was going to break.
Yeah. Right?
I was gonna break, and the way that I did it wasn't the best way. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
It just wasn't, right? He would say that, I would say that, right? It just wasn't. It wasn't kind. It wasn't loving. It wasn't. But it was what I needed to do because I wasn't being kind and loving to myself.
Okay.
And so I had to say, you know what? I choose me. I can't do this no more, right? And you know, and it was rough.
Did any of those investors that you approached that didn't invest, did they ever spin the block or even send an email, congratulations for your...
Nah.
No? Okay.
Nah, that's not, nah.
That's not how it works.
I mean, maybe some of them now probably wish that they would have.
I'm sure.
You know?
Yeah. We can all kick ourselves for things that we had an opportunity to do and didn't see the vision.
Exactly. Or some of, I ran into... I can't remember the guy's name, but I ran into this guy at a Goldman Sachs event, and he was like, I was going to invest in your company, and he was like, he had his reasons for why he didn't, and I respected that. But it was dope that he told me,
right?
Because he could have just left it.
And speaking of Goldman Sachs, I just want to let people know that you were one of their 100 most intriguing entrepreneurs, which I think is such an amazing list to be on, because when you read this book, you'll see why.
Thank you, sister.
You would have gotten this as a review. How do you feel once this book came out and your story is out there and there's things about you that people did not know that we all now know all your business?
All my business.
Not all of it, but I want to say a lot of it. You didn't hold back.
I didn't.
But how did that feel for you? Is that liberating, or is that just...
It was a lot of things. At first, it was liberating. It was a little scary. It was like, is anybody going to care? Like that was one of my main things.
Right.
Like, why would anybody care about my life? You know what I'm saying? And then once people started to read it, not necessarily like, this is like even a little before it came out, but once like some of my friends and stuff started to read it and they were telling me how it made them feel and how it helped them in their life and how there were things that they read, even though we were friends, that they didn't know that I had been through or that I had done or whatever. I think that started to make me feel more easeful and not that I wasn't excited. I just was nervous at first, if I'm fully honest.
Okay. I can imagine.
Yeah.
It is nerve-wracking to put yourself out there for people to receive that and respond to it. And now you're opening it up for people to have their opinions and comments. And
and you haven't gotten to that part yet. But at the end of the book, I help people understand that honestly, You know how like a really good DJ DJs for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and normally those are the illest ones, right? Because they have good taste in music,
Yes.
right? I'm not making I'm keeping my ego calm, so don't hear what I'm about to say with ego, because this is still a humble statement. But like, I kind of wrote this book for myself. It was like my self-help book to me, you know? Because when, you know, I worked with a really beautiful writer, her name is Rachel Burst, and she really helped me to put this together. And whenever me and her would sit down, we spent countless hours together. It wasn't like we sat down and was like, this is going to be this chapter and this is going to be that. It was like, we actually like spent time, and I told her a million billion stories, right? and it kind of turned into what it is, you know? It's like the outcome was happening in real time. It wasn't like we already had an idea, and like we had an idea that it was going to be a memoir, but we didn't have an idea that like I was going to tell all my shit, right?
But you felt so comfortable with her.
I felt comfortable with her, but also it was very cathartic to talk through these things with myself and with her. It was very cathartic to do it, and it was really cathartic to get it off of me and out of me and just say it, you know, because at first I thought I wanted to write a self-help book, but that was for other people. But then I was like, who am I to tell somebody what to do in their life?
Well, a very successful...
I know, sis, but like still, you know, I know.
Because I took a lot of entrepreneurial lessons from this as well. And I will say that.
And I appreciate that. I just didn't think that was my responsibility to do that. And so I needed and for whatever reason, I'm not coming down on myself or speaking negatively. That's not the vibe. It's just that like I don't feel that is my job to tell somebody what to do in their life. Everybody knows what to do in their life, right?
Yeah, we don't need another Deepak Chopra.
No, I mean, and due respect to Deepak. I love Deepak. You know what I'm saying? I love all of them, right? I just don't think that that's my ministry. You know? And so I was like...
You know yourself better than we all do.
You know,
and you definitely know yourself. And I think that's another takeaway I got from this. You're comfortable with you. You know who you are. You know when to walk away. You know when to go hard for something.
Yeah.
You know when to say, let me pay attention because this came to me and I have to follow this path and do it.
Yeah.
And I think... one thing that holds a lot of people back is we can hear these voices and we just squash them.
Yeah, and we shouldn't. And if anything, that's what I wanted people to take from this. I want you to take from this, don't squash your voice in your head. Don't squash your first mind, because normally your first mind is right.
Right.
Right? Don't be ashamed of the decisions that you've made in your life, right? Whether that meant you had to drop it on somebody because you needed to make your rent, or if that meant that you had, which I haven't had an abortion because I've never been pregnant at this point in my life, but for some people they have, right? And if they can read something in my story that can give them a little ease and help them feel a little more comfortable about some of the hard decisions or bad decisions or mistakes or just things that they've had to done to get from yesterday to the next day, right? I wanted people to read this and feel a version of just like, you know what, it's gonna be all right. You know, like I'm here. Yeah. I made it, right? Do I have a roof? Do I have water? Do I have some food? Do I have the things that I need?
Right.
You know, because those are the things that are really important. And the other thing that I wanted to communicate was that the real wealth is actually being able to be happy. It's being able to have peace in your mind. It's being able to know that like whatever you've had to do to get to where you are, like accept it for what it is.
I wouldn't be right where I'm in my spot right here if I hadn't done everything that led me here.
Yeah, and I bet you it's like a domino. Like if you took one out, it's gonna mess up. It's going to mess up the flow of how this thing went. All things are in order all the time, whether we understand it or don't, you know? And so I think through telling these stories, the way that it gave me ease and comfort and relaxed me into where I am at this moment in my life is like, wow, I actually have lived a lot of lives, man. Like I don't wake up thinking about that every day. I'm a very present person. I'm normally just here right now, right? Like I've got it tattooed on my thumbs. I'm conditioned to it now. I am here right now, right? I don't really live in the past. Like that doesn't mean I don't have moments where I have memories or whatever. I have that just like everybody else. But I can normally get out of them real quick and get to here. Yeah. Right. I don't really live in the future. I do manifest, but I'm not like married to whatever the outcome is, because I know that I'm not really in control of that. Yeah. You know?
And things are ever changing.
They are, you know, I mean, yeah.
No, don't be ashamed of your past. It's why you are where you are right now.
Yeah.
And also don't be ashamed to talk about your vagina.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
And yeah.
And don't be afraid to shift, because we can change. We can be a different version of ourselves. Right.
And watch who you have around you. I think that was another valuable lesson of you thinking about who you were running with and the people that you were cool with, and how you had to change who you were surrounded with to become the entrepreneur who you are.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You know, and it wasn't like it was my close friends that I was surrounded with, you know, because, you know, I love Rachel and Tasha till I die. Like those are my besties, even though we don't see each other all the time. But like, it was the crowds that I put myself in. Right. It was the clubs I was going to. It was the music I was listening to. It was that weed I was smoking. It was that alcohol I was constantly drinking. It was the occasional X pill that I was taking. You understand what I'm saying? I just was out here like my life didn't matter.
Right.
You know? And I needed to, my mother just did not raise me, right, to be out here like stuff doesn't matter, like my decisions that I make every day don't matter, because they do.
Thinking about how you even came into this world.
Yeah, man. Like I
can't take it for granted.
I can't take it for granted. You know, like I truly believe that I was put here to do everything that I'm doing right now. I was put here to be this voice. I was put here to create Honey Pot. I was put here. You know, like I was put here for, and I believe that we're all put here for a reason, you know? And so, you know, I needed to shift, and I did. Like I did a 180. You know how many times I've done a 180 in my life?
How many would you say?
Sister, probably at
countless.
Least countless, but like the ones that were like really big, probably like 5 of them.
Wow.
Where you might have hung with me when I was 20, I was a completely different person.
Right.
I wouldn't have talked how I spoke today. I wouldn't have, you know what I'm saying? I didn't show up in myself. I wasn't responsible with me and my words and my thoughts and my actions and how I treated people. I have been that person, you know? And so I also want to communicate to people, you can shift, you can change, you can decide, you can design your life.
Yeah.
It may not be exactly what you're thinking in your mind, so die to that if you're trying to control everything, because control is an illusion, it's not real. But like, you can make your life beautiful. You can. You might just have to make different decisions, right? You might just need to like take care of yourself. You need to drink that water. You need to eat that organic food. You need to go to bed. You maybe shouldn't drink during the week. You understand? Like, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying these are some of the things that I've done, right, that have helped me to get to where I'm going, you know?
Period.
So, yeah.
The Soul Instinct, Beatrice Dixon. And by the way, still the co-founder, CEO, and Chief Innovation Officer of the Honey Pot. It's not sold. I just want to put that out there because...
Yeah, I mean, we don't own majority anymore, right? Like, there is a majority partner, but I'm definitely still in it. I'm definitely still holding a solid piece, you know, and yeah.
Period.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you for coming through. This was amazing.
Thank you.
Read the book, y'all. There's so much that I didn't even say, so I'm saving it for y'all to read the whole book. All right.